This world is just too small. I wanted to fly away from the world that was nothing but blue sea, blue sky, and white sand. What led me to depart from my birthplace was guidance from the future. And on the way to him, I also came in contact with some amount of darkness. Darkness is nothing to fear if you learn to control it. That is what I believed. During the period of time I spent training, I had a friend. His name was Eraqus. He was a special Keyblade wielder, a descendant of the first generation of masters from the age of fairy tales. From the moment he was born, he was destined to become a Keyblade wielder. His situation differed from mine. I did not want to be someone who merely followed after him, but someone who could stand shoulder to shoulder with him. We talked of many things as we sat on opposite sides of the game board. Sometimes we spoke of our training itself, and sometimes of what we ought to be striving for.
Have you heard of the ancient Keyblade War?
I moved one of my pieces and took one of Eraqus's.
Huh? Of course I have.
Eraqus, too, moved one of his pieces and took one of mine.
Long ago, Keyblade wielders waged a war over the ownership of light.
I moved another piece. A game is about moving pieces, and the process is a cycle.
Yeah, the Master's favorite story. I wonder what they planned on doing with Kingdom Hearts after making it appear.
I tossed the question I had been pondering to Eraqus.
Who knows? I don't get why anyone would initiate a war.
Perhaps it wasn't something one could understand. However, there are motives and justifications in war. I continued my line of questioning.
So, you know the Lost Masters? Who?
Whether he had never heard of them, or merely pretended to have never heard of them, Eraqus had immediately responded with a question of his own.
They're the ones who started the Keyblade War. Never heard of them. Where'd you hear about that?
After responding, he looked down at the board and pondered.
Or, they're the ones for whom the war started.
Indeed, the Keyblade War started for the benefit of the Lost Masters.
I'm not following you.
I candidly expressed the suspicion that came into my mind.
You can drop the facade. Facade? On that land shall darkness prevail and light expire. A prospective Keyblade Master should know this. If you say so.
Eraqus merely shrugged at my words.
The gazing eye sees the fate of the world. The future, it's already been written.
I gazed at the single Keyblade hung on the wall. It was one of the oldest Keyblades passed down from master to master. A truly special Keyblade. From there, I began my journey alone to the other worlds with the aim of passing the Mark of Mastery exam. I learned much during my travels. Decades passed, and I found that he and I had taken different paths.
Wait, Xehanort!
He stopped me. Both of us were now in our old age.
There is a reason the precepts bar us from such knowledge. Why do you seek the Keyblade? Would you blanket all the worlds in darkness? Reduce them to nothing?
We had long since become Keyblade Masters, and he protected this land. It was the duty of a Keyblade Master to protect it. Certain mechanisms had been devised by successive generations of Masters to prevent the misuses of this place, where light and darkness existed in balance. In short, it was he, not I, who was the rightful Keyblade Master defending this land. I spoke to him as he followed me. But darkness did cover the world once, in legend. We know so little about the Keyblade War, only that it was just the beginning. amidst that crisis, a precious light was found. It is a curious tale, and one worth exploring. They say ruin brings about creation, so what then would another Keyblade War bring? When the darkness falls, will we be found worthy of the precious light the legend speaks of? I must have these answers. I looked back at Eraqus. The Keyblade needs to be forged, and with it, the door to the Keyblade War unlocked. This was the answer I had found at the end of my long journey.
Fool, you would risk an apocalypse out of sheer curiosity? I will never allow it, Xehanort. Not while I live.
What Eraqus had said was likely correct. However, there are many correct answers in this world. It is foolish to believe that only one exists. But once again, you have it all wrong, Eraqus. Darkness is a beginning, you see, not an end. At birth, every one of us emerged from darkness into a world of light, do we not?
Poetic excuses.
Because darkness exists, the light shines, and the light in turn casts shadows. I turned my back to Eraqus and began walking away.
If words won't dissuade you, only one thing will.
His Keyblade appeared in his hand, and he charged at me. I turned around and sent a single attack at him, which glanced off his face. He avoided a direct blow. Perhaps I should have expected no less from the man I called a friend.
That power, has the darkness taken you, Xehanort?
Not your concern. Eraqus shook as he crouched on the ground and held his face. I turned my back on Eraqus once again and departed from that land. I stood on the beach of my birthplace. After the sun set, nothing could be heard on this island except the sound of the waves. I once began a journey from this world, and now I had returned here, bringing a boy with me. I wonder why I chose this place. The boy had opted for his heart to be fractured rather than for it to be tainted by darkness, and I thought I would at least allow him to expire peacefully. Perhaps it was because I still harbored in my heart the smallest amount of nostalgia for my birthplace. However, when I returned to this island, the boy I thought would never wake up again, Ventus, pointed his Keyblade to the sky. His heart that I had assumed was fractured was in fact not fractured. There was no longer any darkness within it. That darkness now belonged to another boy. If this was the case, then had I not come into possession of a boy with a heart of pure light, and one with a heart of pure darkness? It was as though someone was guiding me. The light within Ventus was still sleeping. Believing that the best way to awaken it was to leave it in the care of a powerful light, I decided to make use of my old friend. I went to visit Eraqus. All of this was to bring forth the Keyblade, and to see with my own eyes what lay beyond the Keyblade War.